Sorry to keep you waiting. If you're a little man watching this, I advise you click off. This video is going to go into some heavy topics that's not for the young ones. So I advise you click off. Anyways, that'll be it from me, Ebola! Here I come, Detroit!
Lord Ultranum. The video. It's done. 2. Play it. Absolute Pride Resonance, otherwise known as APR, is a fundraiser event organized by the Project Moon CCs. The charity goes to Outright International, a LGBTQ+ charity organization that was founded in 1990. The event has many people partaking in it, including the big names like Frey, Esku, Tsunul, Welladeva, Kamui, and the likes. Given that 2026 is the third year, it originally started out in 2024. It was created by Frey, likely done as you're asking why it stopped abruptly? That's because he ran out of budget, sir. My liege, what do we do now? Get the clones to make the video. Intriguing. 2. Send out a message to all the clones. We must finish this video at once! Clone 173? Hit that shit. Given that 2026 is the third year, it originally started out in 2024. It was created by Frey, likely done as a charity for a good cause. Given it's called Absolute Pride Resonance, which is something that happens in Limbus when you chain 3 or more pride scales together, you can clearly see that this was properly established after Limbus and revolves around Project Moon content. Anyways, introductions aside to the event, you're probably wondering, why am I going to be exposing this pride event? Am I homophobic? Do I hate charity? Well, many people have accused me of such things, just due to me saying I'm aiming to take it down. It's pointless tribalism that's been going on in the community, where if you are not one of us, then you are against us. It's annoying, especially when you're trying to critique your own community and they end up painting you out as an enemy before you even gotten your point across. But to answer those questions, I do not care for any of it. If there was no bullshit going on with APR, I would have just ignored it, like I ignore everything else. I don't even watch that many Project Moon YouTubers in the first place, so APR wouldn't have mattered to me in the slightest. The real reason behind my willingness to take down APR started way back in April, when I was suspicious of some of the ways the CCs were behaving in the community, but I had no real way of confirming my suspicions and asking around. That's when I learned a certain YouTuber was banned from APR. I was suspicious immediately, as one will be, so I started poking around for information about this event. Before that time, I had no idea what APR actually was. I started playing Limbus around October or so of 2024, and given that I didn't really care about the PMCC space for such a long time, I never found out about the 2025 APR either. So quite frankly, the first time I'm hearing about APR is someone getting banned from it. One thing led to another, and I was doing research into this event. After all, I like seeing what things are about. If there's nothing to hide, then me doing a little digging will present no results, right? Well, that's when I was informed of certain activities that was going on in APR. After over a month of odd communication and such, the pieces started coming together. I was learning more and more about the Project Moon content creator space, and the more I learned, the more I understood that this just couldn't last for any longer. So all the fruits of my research, you'll see it. Who knows? Maybe there was even more that happened that I wasn't able to cover. So for all those non-Project Moon fans who are not familiar with the space, don't worry, I'll explain everything I need to as I go along. After looking at the feedback of some of my other Project Moon content, it looks like I'm going to have to take my time really going over every single point. But I know even if I did that, there's going to be many people under my comments saying them on some fabricated information that they must have gotten from some kind of mirror world or something. From the way the community mishandles their own personnel, to the way certain people are trying to groom. From the lies and deceit, I'm going over all of it. Well, that's enough exposition. Everyone be warned. For the people featured in this video, I wrote like a lot of the script before Frey's video came out, so I'm just gonna put this in here. Not only is Frey's video just full of lies and inconsistencies that hopefully I'll remember to break down within this video, but even in the intro where he says, "Oh, trust me guys, it's not about this dodo guy, he's hardly involved." Not only is like that contradicted by the fact there's like 20 screenshots, like it's billions of like every single section had a screenshot of me doing something, okay? Like the APR video was my idea, okay? Like half the shit he's saying was someone else's idea was my idea. And he's just doing that to just drag other people through the mud. Just to let you guys know. Like saying Ultranum sent me to harass someone. No. He didn't do that. Like, he just didn't. Them isn't mind controlling me to do something that is my own volition. G-Chan didn't mind control me. Like, these guys didn't do that. It's just me. So he's trying to paint it out as if like there's this massive group of people like working out to get him, but it's kind of just me, honestly. Like it really is just me. That's it. Like people gave me some evidence and I'm just gonna work with it. I mean that's it. What do you want me to say? Why do you have to work with like 20 people or so, you know, a bunch of literal who's on this video? Like, who are these guys?
The Book of Literal Who's. Perfect entertainment for those stuck on a deserted island. A book full of information about people nobody cares about. Who are they? We'll find out today.
Even the collaborators, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I recognize like 2 of them. And I know the other 2 from like the script. And then, who's Tonrep? Who is that? Like, you're just working with random people. Again, if I truly had nothing, why would Frey work with like 20 people on this video? Like, even if you don't think, oh yeah, like Frey like is not a rapist. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna call niggas rapists. I'm not gonna like say everyone's like the worst guy ever. But like, if I had nothing at all, why do this? That's like my only gripe, you know? But each their own. Let the video play. Clone 173, continue. Wait, 173, don't start that shit yet. Don't start it yet. I also wanted to add that Frey was like low-key killing himself making this video. I just thought that people should know that.
But if I can be real for a second, I have not been this angry for an extended period of time at any other point I can remember in my adult life. I didn't want to spend 2 weeks working on this instead of any Project Moon material like the new Intervalo or the new IDs. I have lost sleep, lost my appetite, maybe even gotten sick, and asked for help from my current part-time job to give me some flexibility so I could finish this in time.
Okay, 173, play it now, play it now.
Shame on the golem!
Where do I even begin? I guess it will make sense to go through all of this chronologically, so let's start at the beginning, before APR was even a thing. Let's talk about Dememenic. Towards the end of July, Dememenic became an infamous figure due to his involvement in Watson retiring from Project Moon, when he published a now removed document that criticized and pointed out the flaws in Watson's translations. For all those who aren't aware, Project Moon is a Korean game company. They have released 3 games: Lobotomy Corporation, a management sim game based off SCP, Librariania, a deck builder game that directly follows the events of the previous game, and finally Limbus Company, a gacha game that chronologically takes place after both games and is also the newest installment. Project Moon has also made other media like Wonder Lab, Distortion Detective, and Leviathan, but the history behind these is also complex. The point is that it's a Korean game company, and so in order to have the English fanbase actually be able to interact with the games, they are in need of a translator. Enter in Watson. Well, not quite. You see, when it comes to translating things, there are translators that translate the raw language from one to another, and then there's localizers who translate it in order to fit the different cultures that may not have had an equivalent in their language. And, well, what is Watson? He's neither of these things. he's an editor, which means he lacks the knowledge of the Korean language in order to actually translate anything. So what exactly does he do then? He's meant to correct the mistakes left over by the translator. Simply put, he's meant to put the fries in the bag. So does he put the fries in the bag? Of course not. Why would you do your job when you can do so much more? So anyways, he ended up putting a lot of his headcanons in the game. Like here, certain dialogues from Heathcliff have been exaggerated in order to promote how British he is. Like here, it says, "Blimey, what's gotten you going, Marty, eh? What, you getting cobblewobs from the crab chowder or something?" And another line that goes, "Ha, sounds like the crack." I'm British, and I have no idea what the hell he's even trying to say here. And it's worse because crack is actually an Irish term, so Heathcliff wouldn't even say this because he's British. There is also text between Rodion and Gregor where she refers to him as Greg babe and such, but in the default Korean, she's just saying Greg. Dante saying things like shakaroonies in order to make him appear cartoonish. There are many other translations for even the works in Distortion Detective, but to go through all of them will prove redundant. Just know that the man wasn't doing his job correctly. So the goal of the doc was to simply make him take his job seriously. This wasn't even a doc trying to get him fired or anything, it's just something to make him understand that he is in fact employed and he has a job to do. And if he ends up getting fired because he doesn't take his job seriously, then the doc maker has stated that's fine too. But what the doc maker didn't say was to dox him and harass him. But on social media, as we know, you cannot control people on the internet. Anyways, Watson, by the end of it, ended up stepping down, but the whole event generated controversy during that time, with people getting angry at them for all of this, and even blaming him for the doxing and sending of death threats, which he just didn't do. So you may ask, what's the relevance of talking about the backstory of Dem? Who even is this guy anyways? Well, let me introduce you to Dememenic, the former manager of APR. What's that, I hear you ask? You've never heard of this guy before? In all the events, he was never mentioned? That's strange. It will prove to be nonsensical if I claimed him to be the manager. Yet, the events lack his name or credits on all of them. Well, would it make sense if I said his involvement was purposefully being left out? But for what reason would that even be the case? Who would do such a thing? Oh, I guess you would, huh? Oh well, how am I going to prove that? I've got the DMs. I've got all the DMs. Well, there's quite a decent amount of DMs to go through, so I won't be reading it all. But I'll just keep to what's strictly relevant, starting from the 3rd of June, 2024. So, from our call last night, I remember you wanted to look into doing more production, and I wanted to get into more creation. I was thinking, not now, but once the second push of promos have come out, would you want to take some time to be the producer on this project? To be clear, I'm happy to keep doing this and I'm proud to do it, but after this second push, a lot of it should be easing up. It would give you a chance to spend more time practicing the direction you want to go in. Hell, even pad a resume. And give me some time to focus on my work and videos. Maybe the second half of the month on? I'd be on call, and I'll send you all the resources I have. What do you think? I don't see this as something we can just decide on quickly, but are you open to the idea? Producer, what exactly would that entail on my side of work? So, you will be taking over my role. What I'm doing right now isn't too different from what content managers would do. Scheduling events, checking in with the talent, making sure that people both in and out of the server are up to date on what APR is doing. I'll still be around to help, either if you need resources or something comes up. You would get perms to the Discord for whatever duration you feel comfortable with. Again, this isn't an obligation. I'm just seeing this as an opportunity for the two of us to lean more into what we want. So here we get the confirming messages that Frey is interested in passing on the leadership to Dem. This is like, on the 3rd day of June, so they aren't that far into APR. But let's read on. 6th of June 2024. Hey Dem, just following up on this. When would you be up to making the transition? I believe the hardest is over as far as making this thing. All that's left is making sure any new donor goals are fulfilled. The schedules go out and concerns in the APR Discord are handled. Whenever you're ready, I'm down to talk about it and set up the perms for you. I forgot to respond to your previous DMs. I am so sorry. It's good. I was just enjoying your stream. Anyways, I think Friday would be a good day to make the transition. Gives me some time to prepare, splitting my focus up with the DAT and APR. Preferably after work, so probably on Friday at this exact same time, which will be 8:30 PM for me. So far pretty good, right? Well, it's these next set of messages that start getting to the more interesting side of things. To be blunt, the reason why I'm looking to do this now is less about having a large amount to do, but having to stay on Overwatch. I feel like I should be aware of everything that's going on in the server. This part doesn't need to be shared, but it's been affecting my mental health. And any reason to be able to step away from the computer more easily is pretty welcome. I'll also give people a ping tomorrow about it, so they know what to expect. However, there's something else that I need to mention, which we might need to call about. Over the past few days, I've heard around in VC that some of the artists, folks that run their business through Twitter, have gotten some messages concerned about you being involved. In short, it's about Watson. This next part I want to make very clear. I have zero concerns about your ability or character when it comes to being a part of APR, and nothing of the sort has come up from anyone else. Hang on. You see, that doesn't actually match up to what Frey said in his video. Frey said that Dem was in charge of harassment campaign.
In 2023, though, I didn't know this at first, but we would come to realize that Dem was complicit in creating a harassment campaign against Watson over this.
And then he also said that Dem was untrustworthy.
To be clear, Yokami and I realized what was happening midway through the project and then immediately stopped trusting Dem or anyone he introduced me to.
So, is Frey trying to say that this isn't true? What is Frey trying to say? Is Frey saying that Dem was so untrustworthy that he decided to make him the leader of APR, or at least in a management position? I just don't get it. I'm just a fact checker though. I only just, I'm only here. I'm just an intern, so yeah.
The effort also felt necessary because, again, Dem reached out to a second creator who was willing to make a video closer to the tone he asked for. So if we did not act, Dem's message would be the only one that was going out to the public.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's my typical error. According to Frey's own rules, he doesn't have anything to do with this. I mean, this isn't his content. This isn't direct actions outside of their content. This isn't direct actions in his Discord server, and this is not really someone he's working with because his video isn't the one he wants to be made anymore. So this has nothing to do with him according to his own logic. Yeah.
That being said, I don't think this stuff is going away anytime soon, as since APR is being seen as this chance for the PM community to have this clean, wholesome event. I don't think it's a good idea if we make you taking this role public. I do want you to have this as a resume builder, if you want to keep going in the content manager direction. But to avoid either you or anyone in APR being harassed, I think the best way we can handle this is if I give you the role. We have you handle things internally and let that be fully internal info until after it ends. I care about you being comfortable doing this, both with any chances of being harassed or getting credit. So, if you want to talk with me about this, I'm here for ya. What do you think? I've always known I'll have to face the music eventually at some point. Any point really regarding Watson. I've asked Emmy if it was possible for me to talk to Scriff so I can apologize directly, and never got a response for that. And even if I apologize directly, it wouldn't make it so that what happened didn't happen. So, regarding it, I'm just unsure. Eric suggested at one point apologizing publicly on Twitter, but I've just never thought that was a good idea. Opening what I feel like is a closing wound and bringing more attention to that, and especially now that this event is taking place. Remember Watson from before? So that whole situation is carrying over now. Remember how it's pretty much certain that Dem didn't really do anything wrong? So then, what's wrong with this interaction? Some people may see it as common sense that a big content creator like Frey wants to keep his rep. However, this is going to be an ongoing theme with this, so I want you to keep this in mind. How much is Frey and the rest really going to sacrifice for their reputation? I mean, if Frey believes Dem is innocent in all this, and doesn't believe he is bad, wouldn't it make more sense to just clear the air about Dem? Well, whatever the case, just know this is the tip of the iceberg. Does this mean you feel more comfortable if we kept this within APR, even after the month ends? I know this entire conflict's been in your mind for a long while too. Frey, it's not urgent, but I kinda wanted to talk to you about something. Back when I called you about no longer wanting to be a creator, and feeling more comfortable in the managerial side of things, I wanted to mention something else, but didn't, because I just didn't know how to word it. But the idea of Watson and stuff, I've just thought that it just simply didn't have a place in the community anymore. At least in a more general, wider sense, in places such as Project Moon Community Hub or Twitter. As such, I plan to leave the community after the event has ended and just go back to my own sphere. I think regardless of what I chose by the end of the month, I do think it's probably for the best that it stays internal. I understand. I'm not one to run away from my problems, or just be self-loathing, but in this case, I've told this to Tsunul before, but doxing in my past left such an impression because I was a bystander to that happening to someone else, and, well, for me to do it, it just made me feel sick. I have no idea how to word how I feel about it currently without just sounding pitiful. It's not coming off that way. I think you're having to grapple with an issue that's both ethically upsetting to think about and difficult to practically handle without causing problems to you and those you care about. You're making sense, and if anything, I feel like it's not my place to put judgment on how you handle it, and just be a supportive friend. Now let me make this clear to everyone right now. I've been overestimating some of the people who watch these videos, so I apologize to everyone else who is normal, but I'm going to quite literally explain what is going on here. Dememenic agreed to this. He was not forced by Frey or necessarily threatened by Frey. He agreed to these conditions. However, I have 2 points of contention with this. Number 1, Frey was the one that proposed this idea initially. Of course, like I said earlier, people may look at this and say, it's a common sense move. But let me put it this way. If there's somebody who was perceived to be in the wrong in a situation, and you believe they're innocent, wouldn't it just make more sense to just vindicate them? Just quell the concerns with people saying, guys, it was a misunderstanding. He did nothing wrong. That's at least what I would have thought to do. Alternatively, if you believe that Dem was a reputation risk, it would just make more sense to just not allow him to enter. I mean, after all, if Dem was in such a bad drama that people thought that he doxed somebody and even issued out death threats, it makes sense to just not include him. But why specifically this odd middle ground of including him but not crediting him? Number 2, I believe that Frey was definitely, maybe not intentionally, using emotional and manipulation on Dem. Why do I think that? Well, for starters, he starts buttering up Dem by saying, "To be clear, I'm happy to keep doing this and I'm proud to do it, but after this second push, a lot of it should be easing up. It would give you a chance to spend more time practicing the direction you want to go in. Hell, even pad a resume. And give me some time to focus on my work and videos. But remember, he isn't even going to be credited publicly, so if he was going to try use this in a resume, which I have no idea what resume this would be, but if he was trying to manage other events, it would definitely be more difficult to talk about, especially with the way it was done. Frey then also unintentionally adds an emotional appeal to Dem. To be blunt, the reason why I'm looking to do this now is less about having a large amount to do, but having to stay on Overwatch. I feel like I should be aware of everything that's going on in the server. This part doesn't need to be shared, but it's been affecting my mental health. And any reason to be able to step away from the computer more easily is pretty welcome. Most people may see this as just a regular statement, just giving some context, but let's think about it for a moment. Why is Frey even talking about his mental health? And even he is acknowledging himself oversharing, saying this part doesn't need to be shared. But he just goes on and shares it to him anyway. Keep in mind that he knows Dem has this problematic past, and at the same time we know Dem at this point was emotionally vulnerable. Because here he states, I'm not one to run away from my problems, or just be self-loathing, but in this case, I've told this to Tsunul before, but doxing in my past left such an impression because I was a bystander to that happening to someone else, and, well, for me to do it, it just made me feel sick. I have no idea how to word how I feel about it currently without just sounding pitiful. The way he phrased this was almost as if he directly believes he's responsible for the doxing, which he is just saying because he feels pressured to take accountability for all the things out of guilt. So of course when Frey portrays himself to be stressed out by a charity event, he sees this as a chance for redemption. But I need to clarify now so people do not misunderstand. Dem still made the choice at the end of the day. But the reason why I bring this up is because Dem felt he could do some good whilst taking this deal without thinking of the consequences and implications of it. But let me actually give you some surprising news to all of this. There is somebody who had a similar situation to Dem, was misunderstood by the community, was made out to be bad, and wanted to be a part of APR. But unlike Dem, there was a refusal issued by Frey. Why, do you ask? What was the point in allowing Dem to work behind the scenes but then refusing this person? I'll be talking about it in full in later sections. But just know that Frey has contradicted himself when it comes to his treatment and handling of members, when it comes to those with previous situations. Again, my main critique of Frey is how inconsistent he is, and how much he's willing to bottle for his reputation. Well, we will see this later. We have an announcement by Frey in regards to this information. I'll only be reading out the relevant parts. What at first seemed to just be exhaustion turned into an anxiety having to represent the fundraiser and keeping watch on everything that's happening. Even if nothing urgently needs to be done, this hasn't been great considering my need to handle comms and other facets of life too. Because of that, I've been talking with Dem about having him take over the event now that all of the initial setup is over. He expressed an interest in managing the events before I even realized how I was feeling, and it became a natural fit for us to do this. I do not believe you guys will need to expect any major changes since all of the framework is already in place, and all that's left is to keep it going. Dem's going to take over starting tomorrow. Expect to see him pinging or checking in every so often, where I normally would. I'll still be running my own streams and acting as a collaborator on the ones I agreed to. Nothing on that side has changed, though I'm likely to be away from the server for the next day or two, just to get my head on straight. Maybe make a funny video on the crying boy in lore. That said, I'd like everyone to keep these thoughts in mind going forward. Number 1, both Dem and I agreed that it's just best if we kept this shift internal. In other words, please do not say anything in public about them managing APR, either during or after the month of June. I'm not going into details for this for our own privacy, but this is just as much as them's wish as it is mine. However, I will still be posting promos on my Twitter as the coordinator and responding to questions from interested folks like before. This is an announcement from the APR server, so he publicly announces that Dem's role will be kept hidden, and it was himself and Dem that agreed upon this. But to all the skeptics out there, I'll be giving Frey the benefit of the doubt in every situation. So let's assume Frey was not doing any emotional manipulation in any capacity, and was genuinely well intentioned with letting Dem on the team. Despite his past, wouldn't this constitute to be a good thing? He's giving him a second chance. Well, that gets contradicted later, and in even more insidious ways at that. But I'll get to that later. As to keep this chronologically sound, I'm going to need to talk about Tsunul.
This post is hecking transphobic o algo. You are very problematical, my kind sir. Why don't you do the performative activism like I do?
I did say that I was going to talk about Tsunul, but first I have to give background context on who G-chan is. G-chan is a small-time Project Moon YouTuber who just makes fun videos about the games. He got a meme aesthetic, self-proclaimed shitposter. Also, if you did not know, he's a major Guardian Z defender. What? You don't believe me? Let's just search G-chan's channel on YouTube. Oh, there's a video from Tsunul. Well, what's in it? It goes on to talk about Guardian Z, G-chan and the Project Moon community, and wait, I'm gonna have to explain who Guardian Z is too. Okay, let's be brief. Guardian Z is a Project Moon YouTuber / streamer who mainly plays LobCorp, but does other things too, and plays modded games. This is what he usually posts on YouTube and Twitch. Oh, well, that doesn't seem so bad actually. He said that's what he posts on YouTube and Twitch. On Twitter, he is a completely different person. He reposts generic far-right propaganda and makes comments on posts with his own opinions. I don't remember the last time I saw a Project Moon related post from him. He posts like somebody that's taken far too many black pills and can't actually make congruent arguments. I guess I may as well say my own opinion on Zed because many people have compared me to him. I don't like this guy at all. Not only was he awful to his own community, but he also mistreated artists from the information I was able to gather. Guardian Z also posts far-right rhetoric that doesn't even open up any conversation about economic or migration policies, but is just causing trouble. In simple terms, he's what we'll call the retard right. They don't say anything of substance, just post endless race war propaganda, and is equivalent to a drone. My own personal take aside, there's also called the LGBTQ, a whole bunch of groomers. There's a lot more to go over with Zed, but Tsunul's video actually provides the context on Zed, so you should go watch that too for full context. Because this video is not gonna be going over Zed. So, now with more general knowledge about who Zed is, you may understand why being a Zed defender will be considered a really bad thing in this community. But how on earth do people come to that conclusion? Well, G-chan made a video documenting the behavior that the Project Moon community exhibited towards Guardian Z after making a certain tweet about how they massacred my boy, referring to the picture of a nugget from the Dememenic Corporation holding up a LGBTQ flag. People then got really upset about that post. One thing led to another, and the harassment was beginning. Now, I should point this out as a disclaimer. Because people will take this out of context, so I'm going to need to explain why specifically I'm phrasing it this way. Yes, Zed has had a history of doing this, way before this post. But that still doesn't defy the reality. That is, in fact, this post was specifically what caused everyone to crash out collectively. It was, without a doubt, a harassment campaign. They even got into his work emails. Like, yes, you do not like the guy. I do not like the guy. But that doesn't excuse that behavior. G-chan saw this happening and decided to make a video covering this. I'm going to need to clarify this again. G-chan did not make this video in defense of Zet, rather made it condemning the behavior of the community for reacting in such an extreme way. This video wasn't to simply just say both sides are bad, but was created with the intention of saying, yeah, he sucks, but you shouldn't be going as far as getting into his work email. That's a common sense opinion that most people can get behind. So, why then did it turn into a mess for G-chan? Well, for starters, he made many mistakes in his video. He said that this one VTuber, Saf, said that Guardian Z undercharged his artist, but in reality, she said Guardian Z commissioned an undercharging artist. The first one adds another thing bad Zet did, which he didn't do, compared to the second one being what actually happened. G-chan, however, acknowledged this mistake and tried to correct it in a comment section, but to no avail. The reason why this mistake matters is because people who watched G-chan's video and saw that, then went to Saf's comment section to yap about it. This was a legitimate mistake that G-chan made, and that effectively made the situation more muddied. There was also how the video didn't delve into how bad Zet really was, but to be honest, that doesn't actually matter. Let me explain. People were harassing him over the posts, but let's assume all the people were harassing him and they knew the full extensive history of Zet. It still doesn't justify their behavior. So G-chan was right in calling out the community for going too far. But I feel like the main reason why people didn't like his video was the overall neutrality of it. I'll be blunt, G-chan was not equipped to make this video. He should not have made this video, not because he is wrong, but because of the way he presented his arguments, and some of the slip-ups he did ended up causing him to have a somewhat bad video overall. So now that I've covered G-chan and Zet, I can actually explain why Tsunul's video was so insidious. For starters, I'd like to go over the general sentiment carried in the APR server, as this context will matter for later. Remember all of what I talked about earlier? With G-chan not agreeing with Zet and calling out fans' behavior? Well, let's see what the server members of APR think. Some stupid points in the video, but I'm more concerned with PMUA as of now. I didn't like that fucking video at all. Going to talk it out with him later. Being on the fence between fascism and no fascism. G-chan's video was concerning to me. Actually, cause it has so much neutrality. Yeah, I just watched it. I don't like that. But very fucking subtle. This deadass makes me want to side with Zet, not gonna lie. Only English Dragon Quest of the Stars fan. But it's very much like on the fence, on the verge. No shoddy said this. Sorry, I wrote up a storm. No! He didn't. I said very subtle. Should have clarified. Very subtle themes. Yeah, it had the vibe. Like, in the way he talks. PM player reading comprehension. The vibes of the video. The way he presents his points. It just sounds like he's trying to argue for neutrality. In regards to them misunderstanding what subtle means. But cause he's heavily siding towards hate. I meant having that general sentiment. Before I give my analysis and breakdown, let's see what Frey also had to say about it. Checking out the video now. Alright, based on the chapters, and the fact that it goes into Dave's stuff midway through, I don't see a huge need to finish the rest. I can agree with 1 or 2 points, but ultimately, this video didn't need to exist. Like, is the purpose to prevent misinformation about Zet? Is there enough to warrant that kind of effort in the form of a video this long? Not that misinformation should stand by. And what's the end goal here? To vent about the PM community's response? Fine, I guess. A little self-serving if that's the case. But creation is that to a large degree. I don't think this is some service to the community though. Like Tsunul and others mentioned, Zet dug his own grave, and the internet's gonna respond how it will, especially when it comes to Twitter and fandoms. I will say that seeing other PM creators dunk on him without saying anything constructive legit bothered me, and agree with G on that front. when it comes to controversy, with one side being a bad actor, I feel it's important to not feed into them and let them throw a tantrum on their own, with some exceptions if they're causing harm, luckily not in this case. Or if the response is primarily to make people aware of how they can cause harm, like in Zafirer's video. That's why I didn't say anything about it during APR. In my opinion, dunking on someone like Zet only serves to put both Zet and whoever's dunking on them in the limelight, like some kind of spectacle that gives both parties more attention, and that only makes the situation worse overall. I guess I can't really continue the topic without being specific. But while I know Tsunul was limiting the interactions and calling to be reasonable, Escu's way of talking to him is what bothered me the most. Not trying to start anything or cause problems, but it's been on my mind since the start of APR. Regardless, the video itself isn't going to do a lot of help, since the point is to just say, but people other than Zed were also wrong. Hopefully it passes by quickly. I'm glad we're in a place where we could talk about and keep everyone updated on this stuff, though despite being late to the party again. I'm specifically bothered with the implication that there's some kind of equal playing field. Yeah, that angle isn't doing anyone favors. G can make a disclaimer about not supporting Zed, but when the focus is on criticizing those opposing his statements to this extent, he's showing his bias. Watch the video, and good lord, what the fuck? I'm so fucking confused, but mostly angry, because how do you come to that sort of conclusion? I was straight up squinting and frowning the entire time because it was one of the most biased things ever. What the fuck? I feel like I need to rewatch it again, because it just soured me that bad. I'm going to end the readings here, as again, to go through everything will just make it redundant. But the point is that the general APR community did not like the video. Of course, mainly for reasons stated from before, but as you can see the way I explained it versus the way they explained it, it's completely different. I went for a more understanding but critical view of the video. Sure, it wasn't the best video, but the intention was there. These guys, however, are talking as if G-chan didn't even have any good intention with the video in the first place. Well, whatever the case is, APR is meant to be a safe space for content creators for PM. Instead of trying to understand G-chan, they immediately turned on him for going against the grain. Also note how Frey didn't even fully watch the video but already came to some sort of conclusion. He goes on to say that Zet dug his own grave, and the internet's gonna respond how it will, especially when it comes to Twitter and fandoms. Frey, what exactly are you trying to say here? By no means am I saying that Zet is a good person or whatever, but as long as you've made your grave, you guys shouldn't comment about it? It seems like Frey was more upset at the video's existence, trying to critique the fans for their overly malicious behavior due to how it makes them look like they're taking the side of Zet. But why would this be a problem? Well, Frey also says that that's why he didn't say anything during APR. So let's get this straight. If it wasn't during APR, would you have said something? What exactly are you trying to say with that? You also go on to misrepresent what G-chan was trying to do with his video. But when the focus is on criticizing those opposing his statements to this extent, he's showing his bias. What bias? Frey, what exactly are you talking about? Why has the entire server become a place where they're just collectively bashing on G-chan and nobody's actually bothering to ask him what's going on with this video? You also see this a lot going onwards. The group mentality of us versus them. Ironically enough, G-chan's video speaks of this, and you guys are literally doing what he critiques. Not only do you guys know he's directly partaking in APR with you guys, it would also be antithetical of him to agree with anything Zet produces. But instead of trying to correct your friend or ask him any questions about what's going on, you just collude behind his back? This is some playground level rumors circling around, and all that had to happen was some basic conversation to just point out some of the clear flaws that G-chan has made in this video, and still commend him for trying to give out a balanced take. And the irony of Frey then saying, "I'm glad we're in a place," in order to talk and keep each other updated, with not a single soul here except from them has expressed the idea of talking to the person that's actually made the video, is pretty funny. So, what does this have to do with Tsunul specifically? Well, remember how I pointed out that video that he made? Well, there were still many things that happened before he made that video. First and foremost, he decided instead of focusing on his video about PMAU, a Korean gaming group, this was to take the utmost priority. So he dropped that and rushed to talk in DMs with G-chan. I would like to show everything, but again, in the interest of time, I'll only show what's absolutely necessary. But I'll also give you a quick synopsis of what happened in DMs. Tsunul reached out to G-chan about his video, rather aggressively at that, and was pointing out the criticisms he made in the video. You can see how Tsunul was highly irritable in his conversations, and in the end, they just ended up talking past each other. Question on the video. It spent saying how misinformation is bad to spread, and I agree on that. Now, with agreeing, I got a question for one part of the video. C-pick. This is a pretty clear way of taking a quote out of context to display a different meaning, so I was wondering if it was a mistake or intentional, and it's linked in an image. This is mostly because it felt like what Zet posted was completely disregarded. I have nothing else to say about Saf because everything else she said about Zet was true. I saw those retweets and some whatnot myself. Yeah, but when the quote was taken out of context and spun into a different narrative, then it seems very misguided to form a video about neutrality and fighting misinfo. Not saying that wasn't the case, people lying about Zet having chose to underpay the artist, but I'm saying you took a person and painted a different narrative about what they had to say as you condemned that behavior in the same sentence. What part of it was spun into a different narrative? From what I'm seeing, Zet just got disregarded and it led to more people believing the artist was in the right. Hold on, I'm going to keep rereading this and clarify more to me what you mean, because I feel like I'm missing the point of what you're trying to say. You misquoted them. The quote, Zet commissioned an undercharging transgender artist for a 3D model, says that the artist was undercharging, i.e. they chose that themselves. What you put in the video, undercharging transgender artists for a custom 3D model, then said how they were guilty of spreading the misinfo of Zet choosing to undercharge them. Let me rewatch the video then. If that's true, then I'll absolutely retract my statement. Give me a moment. So, before I go any further, let me quickly point out what's happening. Tsunul and G-chan are discussing his video about Zet and the harassment Zet faced. Tsunul initially brings up G-chan's misquote that I addressed earlier, which again, we can all agree he should not have done, as it caused problems for Saf who didn't deserve it. I have said numerous times to my fanbase, to you, on Twitter, that if you are not harming yourself or anyone else, then I do not have a reason to hate you. However, being on my side did not strip me of the ability to go against hate speech. As if that is the case, if calling out shit behavior only fuels harassment, then your entire video was one of harassment, and we are responsible for our audience. So I don't see how this strips Zet of any wrongdoing. He's out here calling people who aren't white subhuman, which you never brought up his racist comments in the video either. So it's pretty reasonable to say why that's bad, as also I, in the same message, state why harassment is bad. He's a full-grown adult in a place of influence. Why are we treating him like a toddler?
Hey, clone number 73. Huh? What? I'm a clone of you from the future. At this rate, the video's never gonna come out. You've retaken this part 5 times, simply because you couldn't speak properly. We are literally never going to be vindicated. So I'm taking over. Now don't worry about that, guys. Let's now on with the video. Tsunul then comes out swinging, saying that G-chan is misrepresenting him. Tsunul was referring to a tweet that he made about saying how could one be homophobic as a Project Moon fan during that time. He says that that tweet wasn't directly calling Zet out, but we could just be extremely honest and not just buy into the plausible deniability that Tsunul has bought himself. It's obviously about Zet. Anyone could put 2 and 2 together. Even if you didn't directly quote him or mention him, it's going to spur discussion in the comment section of the post, which people will definitely figure out about it. If you truly wanted to, you could have just said nothing. That way, G-chan wouldn't have had anything to say to you. He never claimed you were radicalizing your audience. just that you weren't really doing much to stop the harassment against Zed. Also, Tsunul, what's up with this disingenuous tone? You painted everyone who has a problem with white supremacists as harassers. No, Tsunul. Saying that you shouldn't go into people's emails and send things and also spamming things at people isn't saying that. Tsunul, what we're missing here is...
Also, for context on it didn't paint the whole picture. A lot of important context is missing. You need to dive into it, but I specifically stated that context, but it was missing the context.
G-chan said this in relation to those who are taking it a step too far. You can have a problem with a white supremacist. Quite literally, nobody is saying you cannot. He is saying that you cannot start inciting harassment against him, which is what happened. He is calling out your vague post because those that are aware of the situation will see that as an excuse to continue going, as their content creator is backing them. You've said it yourself, you are responsible for your audience. If you got angry at G-chan for not correctly talking about Saf in his video, and blaming the harassment she received on him, then it's only fair that the harassment Zed faced can also be blamed on you. You're also bringing up G-chan's race as an emotional appeal to say that he wouldn't like you either because he's racist. But this doesn't make you look any better, but in fact makes you look a lot worse. You are not the one that Zed has a problem with in terms of your race. Somebody like G-chan is. Yet, it is G-chan that's making the video critiquing the community's behavior because G-chan is being unbiased. But because of the us versus them mentality, you've been on the offensive against G-chan. Tsunul then claims that he manages his community. Okay, wait a minute. Before I address this point, did Tsunul just say that somebody saying that they should send all LGBTQ people on the warp train counts as a death threat? For all those who don't know what Project Moon is, a warp train is a train that goes places in allegedly 10 seconds, but actually takes thousands of years. Essentially, just assume he's saying something like, we need to torture the LGBT or something like that. It's effectively the same. But Tsunul, the warp train doesn't exist. This isn't even a valid threat because the means to carry it out doesn't exist. Why are you even bringing this up in a conversation about G-chan's video on Zed? This person is likely not a member of your community, so why are we acting as if you're calling out your own community? He clearly wants to see LGBTQ people suffer, and you're bisexual, so he's clearly talking about you as well. G-chan then shows a tweet made by a person, and it says, I feel like there's a point where harassment, which isn't really harassment, it's just cyberbullying, it's kind of needed for individuals like him. He actively makes the community look worse than it is, and it's better off if he fucks off here. He's just a parasite. Then G-chan goes on to explain that he isn't in defense of Zed, that he just needs Tsunul to understand the hypocrisy here, and that people also need to understand that certain lines he cannot cross. I'm going to skip over a bit where Tsunul addresses his tweet directly. I'll come back to the following dialogue there. He simply responds by saying, this person ain't even a part of my community, so let's get it straight here. The person that is saying that he wants all people like Tsunul to go through thousands of years of torture is a part of his community, but the person that pretty much agrees with Tsunul is not a part of his community? I'm not saying that this person is a part of his community, but I find the double standard pretty funny in how Tsunul switched from saying, yeah, I moderate my community, and it's someone that completely opposes him, versus him saying, I don't have to moderate this guy because he isn't a part of the community, and it's just someone with a slightly more extreme view than him. I can keep showing more, but I think you're getting the idea that between these back and forths, nothing of value is actually being exchanged. Tsunul has this idea that G-chan has a problem with people calling out somebody that is homophobic, when his problem actually is the specific way in which it's being done, which is through harassment. May I remind you that they are straight up in his emails and spamming his posts with nonsense, and also using keywords to make bots spam his shit as well. These things do not contribute to calling out the homophobic racists in the community, only serves to muddy the waters going onwards, as it gives Zed some grounds to stand on, as well as just isn't really morally permissible behavior to engage in the first place. But I'm just going to end this back and forth by showing the end of it. The following conversation just is a back and forth between Tsunul and G-chan, with neither of them being able to come to any conclusion. And even at the end they see the pointlessness of the conversation. So now that I've shown you the DMs between Tsunul and G-chan, I can explain the main problems about this. First and foremost, Tsunul kept taking a very defensive stance, saying stuff like, "Oh, so we're just supposed to leave the homophobe alone," and more, when so obviously G-chan expresses his dislike of Zed. Tsunul is misrepresenting what G-chan is saying. What do you think about misrepresentation, Tsunul?
But all of this is important to say as misinfo is terrible to spread.
Furthermore, there wasn't really much of effort on Tsunul's side to actually try and come to an understanding with G-chan at all, but rather launching accusations at him for being neutral, or offensive as some people might say. Tsunul sees this video as G-chan fence-sitting and not picking a side between Zed and the rest of the Project Moon community, when in fact that is not what's happening, as G-chan already stated his opposition to Zed. He was clearly trying to say that harassment wasn't good, as it can open the floodgates to even more malicious behavior. Let's move on though, because Tsunul wasn't done yet. Even though he stated earlier that he wanted to make a YouTube video on PMAU, he decided G-chan was far more of a pressing issue than this. So time passes, and Tsunul has already written some of the script for the G-chan and Zed video, covering everything, and so he goes to somebody he can trust with this. He goes to Dememenic to talk about his video plans. Again, like I've been saying, there are many problems that Dem points out with Tsunul's script, and it spans many pages. I'll only be showing the most relevant information. So he then goes through all of the script, breaking it down piece by piece. Let me also clarify that this wasn't the final script Tsunul made. However, it has a lot of his earlier ideas, and in doing so, we will be able to even see this conversation with G-chan and what he took away and put into writing. Dem talks about how Tsunul was getting G-chan's words twisted, and critiques him for what I pointed out earlier, as Tsunul just immediately assumed that G-chan was fence-sitting between Zed and his opinions, and the people angry at him, when it was very specifically against the excessive harassment. This next part I do find to be pretty funny considering everything. Tsunul puts in his script, but if you hear one thing about someone and assume the entire character of a human being that's existed for years, I think you're being stupid. And then Dem points out you've done the same thing to G-chan, along with the people in APR. Now, I must mention at this point, Dem has already left the APR server. There are more points he has made, but I'll skip to his reasoning to why he left in order to keep things concise. So we'll be showing that on screen. And then Dem continues to talk him down. Tsunul has a very strong opinion here, but just know that it isn't anything I haven't already talked about. So I'm going to be breezing past this conversation so I can get to my point and then the video itself. So now we can get into the video. I won't really be playing much of the video here. I'll link it to this video if I can, but I'll just talk you through some of the major criticisms of the video. First of all, Tsunul was getting onto G-chan for not doing his proper research on the case and missing important context.
Also for context, it didn't paint the whole picture. A lot of important context is missing. You need to dive into it, but I specifically stated that context, but it was missing the context
to the point where he brought it up in their DMs. That missing context was not mentioning all of what Zed has done, and misinterpreting what Saf said to the point of making her look like she was a liar, which we already went over. However, the irony with that, Tsunul himself is misrepresenting G-chan, and just as he said, misrepresenting people is bad.
But all of this is important to say as misinfo is terrible to spread.
And said that G-chan's actions led to Saf getting harassed, when G-chan himself was getting harassed from after the creation of this video, and Tsunul did nothing about it. Tsunul said that I put a disclaimer at the beginning of the video, but let's just not be ignorant to think that saying don't harass this person is more than enough to stop them. People then may say, what else can you do in that situation? However, I'm only holding them up to their own standard.
When I contacted him, he said it was an honest mistake and later pinned a comment explaining that, which is the best you could do after a fuck up like this. And he specifically went into Saf's comments to talk to the commenter about why this behavior goes against his video. He handled it the best he could.
My next point with this video is more of the irony of it all, and how G-chan made a video talking about harassment and more. Then Tsunul makes a video about spreading misinformation and fence-sitting that can lead to problems. Then he proceeds to poison Zed's well at any given chance, discrediting any reason to watch him in the first place. Now remember, I'm not saying Zed is by any means a good person or whatever, but Tsunul, you cannot say people should listen to Zed, then poison the well immediately after,
So I'm saying that take what I said with a grain of salt. Maybe Zet has good explanations for this. Hear him out if he ever wants to talk about these things. And if you're cool with that, to each their own. Enjoy yourself and discuss Zet at the local clan meetup. You'll do your thing. I know there's many perspectives in life, so if that's yours, well, it is what it is. Now, if Zet makes a video about this one defending himself, hear him out. I think he has a dog shit character, but I don't think that's reason to throw away anything he has to say. Maybe he'll have some good explanations for his actions, or the video will sound like an old school Hitler speech. We'll see.
Furthermore, I know that you said you're petty.
By the way, I'ma be petty.
However, hopefully you don't actually mean you're going to donate purely out of spite.
And actually, last sign off, all the money this video makes in the first week I will donate to Outright International. Because I know Zet's fragile racist ego made him watch every second of this 40-minute long video, so I will put that half cent I got from his ad revenue to a cause that enrages him.
This just makes you seem pretentious. This entire smug energy can be felt throughout. Known as the Zet Glazer, or Defender, simply because Tsunul didn't clarify strongly enough that G-chan was in complete opposition to what Zet was saying. There is one last thing I have to go over, and it is the screenshot that Tsunul used from Worse.
I think the Dino Dave point hammers the message much better, but since the video wasn't that in-depth and specific of its messaging, you had people equate the negative opinions on Zet as the same two opinions on Dino Dave. And here's the key difference. Dino Dave gave opinions about a video game. Zet gave hateful opinions on real groups of people. To equate the two of them is dumb.
It was a screenshot of a tweet Tsunul used to say that people were equating the Dino Dave situation to Zet in order to say and point out that G-chan made a video so bad that it's led people to equate the two. However, what Tsunul didn't say was that this was a single paragraph taken from a tweet that was so long, Twitter Blue was needed to be bought in order to say the full statement. Tsunul, what was it again that we need in our videos?
Also for context, it didn't paint the whole picture. A lot of important context is missing. You need to dive into it, but I specifically stated that context, but it was missing the context.
We do that in order to...
But all of this is important to say as misinfo is terrible to spread.
Oh, okay, alright. So let's actually talk about what was said here. For starters, you can see in this screenshot here that he had problems with G-chan's video. It's cut off. We can literally see it right there. There's also how the tweet goes on to say that people shouldn't listen to Zet, and there was a reasonable reason to not like Zet. He clearly isn't trying to say Zet and Dave was equal. He wasn't trying to compare the harassment between each other. He was saying that G-chan was correct in calling out the worst actors from the Podrian community, and that people shouldn't have resorted to trying to cyberbully him off the internet, and instead should have just blocked him and moved on. Tsunul, how do you miss the entire point of this tweet completely? You must have been trying to misunderstand what Rios was trying to even say here. But you know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt. I'm going to say that you intended to not misrepresent what somebody said, and that you made an honest mistake. So just like G-chan, the one who you said when he apologized as the least he can do.
When I contacted him, he said it was an honest mistake and later pinned a comment explaining that, which is the best you could do after a fuck up like this. And he specifically went into Saf's comments to talk to the commenter about why this behavior goes against his video. He handled it the best he could.
I expect you to be held to your own standard. At the very least, you can apologize for the misunderstanding you've caused Worse, and more importantly, the misunderstanding you've caused G-chan. That has caused him to continue to be labelled a Zet supporter to this day. I must say as well, there's also text messages between Tsunul and G-chan that have a more amicable conversation before Tsunul's video comes out. So, not only was Tsunul making disingenuous bad representation videos on G-chan, but he was also apologizing for his previous behavior in DMs, and they was getting along. Only for him to then release that video on G-chan that tarnished his rep in the space permanently. The summary of all this is that Tsunul is calling out G-chan and his coverage of Zet, seeing how he got innocent people harassed, and he completely mishandled the situation. For this to be the exact same case as Tsunul, and even after a year, not even a single word spoken about that mistake, it was so great that G-chan has been labelled permanently as a Zet supporter. Somebody so far gone that even I, someone you guys deem problematic, disagreed with. You never took accountability for that mistake, and that's not an exclusive thing to Tsunul. Remember how in section 1 how I said I'm going to talk about Frey has double standards for who can join APR? Now I'm going to be talking about that right now. Let's go ahead and talk about Average Heathcliff Fan.
I was gonna end the segment there, but then I happened upon this post by Tsunul. It's from 2 years ago, but if you check the second edit at the very bottom here, which is what we'll be reading, you actually made it rather recently because it's talking about content from Frey's video. And it reads, sometime after I made this video, correcting the misinfo G-chan said about me and another CC, he ended up growing to resent me, to the point where he tried to join a harassment campaign aiming to burn down the Project Moon community. Frame one of my friends and his former friend as a groomer and tried to harass me out of the community because of this video. You can find all the evidence of these statements in this video. It has a summary in the first 10 minutes. So that's him linking Frey's video. For starters, he didn't join any harassment campaign. This isn't a harassment campaign, we're just revealing stuff. Number 2, I know that other people might think the Refraction Ensemble, whatever, is some kind of like harassment server, whatever, campaign shit. It's my community server, okay? It's just a community server, that's all it is. I make YouTube videos, I post shit on Twitter. I said it'd be cool if I had a community server. That's what the server is. Being in the server doesn't mean you automatically are a part of everything. It's just a community server. Third of all, this is just disingenuous framing, because he's trying to say we're gonna frame a former friend as a groomer. No, we're just showing screenshots of conversations that's happened. You corrected the misinfo G-chan said about you and another CC. I guess you kind of did do that, but you created more problems in the end of the day and you refused to fix those. So he actually has a good reason to not like you, but that's not even what he was talking about. And when you use the burn the community down thing, that's in reference to an Omni-Man quote, which I'll get into in a second because I gotta go over what Tone Rep said. So here's some conversations between G-chan and Tone Rep. Honestly, I was gonna conclude more, talk about this more, but there's no need to. All you need to understand is that Tone Rep just doesn't actually seemingly have any idea what's actually going on at all. He doesn't know what's going on at all. Because not only does he not get this Invincible reference, which is apparently fairly niche. No, Invincible is like one of the most popular Amazon shows in modern era, maybe outside of The Boys. So to not know this reference doesn't make it niche, it just kind of makes you ignorant. But I guess if you don't know it, you don't know it. I can't blame you. But he isn't trying to join in any harassment campaign, and he's saying that he was collaborating on the APR vid or whatever. No, he wasn't. Again, I'm the only one working on this video, and it just seemed like y'all were collaborating on the APR vid at the time. That was what we gathered from our logs and Refraction Ensemble. They treat it as if they actually have real logs of my server. Again, they only have general chat logs. They don't have the dedicated channels we used for planning this stuff out. Because who the hell leaks all their plans in general chat? We're not fucking idiots. And the funniest part is, even if G-chan meant fully what he said by burn the community down, he wasn't even saying that in reference to any of the Project Moon CCs. He was actually saying that in reference to another conversation about, you know, Charlotte, the one trans nigga that killed themselves on a bridge or whatever. We're talking about how making fun of them isn't a good thing, and that's where he actually says the statement here. And to prove, he still posted Omni-Man image anyway, because again, it's a reference. So that's what I wanted to say about G-chan. To add something else about Tsunul though, he kind of reminds me of this clip.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
He acts as if he actually cares about minorities. He tries to leverage that against G-chan, but in reality it's just, he's just doing it for himself.
Just shut it down. Just shut it down. Shut it down.
As you've come to expect, before I can really get into what happened with APR, I first have to give a short backstory on who Average Heathcliff Fan is. However, due to the nature of this person, the backstory is so unbelievably large, it will take a separate video that spans over an hour long. I'll be abridging it as much as possible, and please understand, there is nuance and more research to be done in the situation as a whole, but for the sake of this video, I'll just say what's necessary. Average Heathcliff Fan, sometimes referred to as Average, was a Heathcliff enthusiast. For those who don't know who Heathcliff is, he is the seventh sinner from the Limbus Company game, and he's based off Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, the book written by Emily Bronte. You don't have to know too much about the character, just know he's from this game and what he looks like, because there's going to be a lot of problems revolving around this character if you look into the history of Average Heathcliff Fan. That aside, let's get into specifics. There was this friend group that seemingly centered around Average. It was parasocial to the point of him only joining VCs when Average was around. We have some footage recorded of a certain thread by a moderator who was noticing these tendencies, and came to the conclusion that people were just jealous of Average for being the Heathcliff fan. She has the Heathcliff room and has made art involving the character. It's a pretty big part of Average's character that they do not like. Even the official Heathcliff VA somehow knew about Average too, even commenting on the room. So Average was a source of envy for others, and likely that was the background to why they acted as irrationally as they did here. Anyways, the situation in particular revolves around a Discord bot called Plurakit. How it happened was that Average somehow miscommunicated and somebody else was appointed as a moderator called Mimi. Then Mimi added the bot and brought in a bunch of people from their circle who claimed to have DID. DID is dissociative identity disorder. The bot lasted from around a few days to a week, and other moderators, including Average, decided to pull the plug on the bot. Mimi was not aware of this decision, due to the bot being used in an unhealthy way. Apparently, other members were also getting uncomfortable too. The specifics weren't really given, and from there, the DID people got really angry about the removal from this bot. Even Average's friend, who allegedly was in favor of removing the bot, was told by this mob that it wasn't their fault. Average was also mostly absent from the spiral in the Discord, but let's go over some of the messages in order to paint the picture of what's going on. I'll be skipping over a lot of it just to get the point across. Now, originally, I did intend to actually show and go over a lot of the text, but in the interest of time, I'm just gonna flash it all on screen. And to just summarize it, it's just a bunch of people crashing out over this Discord bot. It's truly shit no one cares about. I cannot stress enough how it's literally the most pointless shit ever. You can read it for yourselves, you can pause if you want, but I'm just gonna be flashing it because it's literally no one cares. As you can see from all these messages, malice was brewing in the group. Many things go on to happen from there. Average makes a post about liking Heathcliff regardless of the colour, and people jump to call her racist. The hate group used this in order to make their move, causing harassment, unfairly cancelled commissions, and more. What happened to Average was unfortunate. However, before people try to say that this tweet may be valid concerns for what we're about to get into, let's remember that this tweet happened January 31st, 2025. The events related to APR happened before this moment, before the public perception of Average has truly shifted to the worse. So let's bring this back to APR and see what happened here. Another conversation between Dememenic, one of the managers of APR, and Frey, creator of APR, involves adding Average into APR. Frey, the person who believes in second chances, who believes in creating a safe space for communities. What did Frey say? Well, let's find out together. From these messages, you can see a conversation going on about not being allowed to invite Average in. But whoa, hold on. What's going on here? It seemed like Frey had no problem inviting them. But the second the past became apparent, Frey decided to take absolutely no risks. Well, let's read on to get the full picture. Dem asks Frey the difference between himself and Average. And Frey explains that since Dem was essentially a founding member, it's different. And Frey insists that the past drama will make life harder for people on APR. So Frey decides to not let Average in due to problems in the previous server. Keep in mind the messages we went over earlier. It was the so-called problematic past of Average. We all know that it was one of the biggest nothing burgers to grace this earth, and it wasn't even Average's fault. Dem asked the logical question, how will life be harder for people in the server? And Frey's response was just lacking any real fault on the side of Average. Not just that, he's also talking to somebody who he directly told that his problematic past, that being Dem, doesn't really matter in this regard, and they could be brought in on a down low. Why couldn't that have just been the same for Average? Unlike the Watson situation, where a lot of people are actually in the know, hardly anyone knows anything about this Average situation in particular. At worst, this will just be a personal grievance that some of the members may have in particular. Some people may be wondering, why does any of this matter? Or what's the point in pointing out that Frey rejected somebody that is problematic? He's just trying to keep APR healthy. Let's just ignore the fact that APR isn't even the safe and non-toxic space they say it is, as we saw happen with G-Chan when someone goes against the grain. When Frey reached out to Dem about managing APR, and Dem was also interested in it, he was willing to throw that under the rug. Yet when it comes to this absolute nothing burger, he can't do the same? What could possibly be the reason behind this? And again, in section 4, we'll see another more worse example of where Frey has gravely mistreated somebody. Just look at the reasoning that Frey uses to distinguish between Average's and Dem's situation. But everyone that was around you that joined had already worked past it and was around you for a while, knowing you were cool. Both that and the fact it's easier to start a group culture than to maintain it is why that's not any issue. So, people can work with Dem in order to see that he's cool, yet when it comes to Average, the same isn't applicable due to the fact that Dem was from here from the start whilst Average is a new person. Not to even point out the obvious flaws in this reasoning, it actively is counterintuitive to the kind of community that Frey is trying to create. He wants APR to be a safe space where creators feel welcome. He also dismisses Average saying that she isn't a creator anyways. Which would then be a decent argument if he wasn't talking to the one exception to this rule who you let into APR, who's running things in the shadows without the public having their eyes on him. But it looks like if you follow what I was saying earlier about Frey, he seemingly prioritizes PR and the way things look, over the idea of a safe community, and that just goes out the window the second anything more complex comes in its way. As you can see, Frey enjoys taking the path of the least resistance. Instead of spending time and effort to clear up the air about them to the public, he would rather just keep on the down low. But I do want to hold off from reading too deeply into this, as I want to go over Kygi's situation first.
I am giving everyone in the world the N-word pass. Just say your mind. Say your mind to me. Use the N-word on me. Just release, vent everything in your head.
Believe it or not, there were more administration problems within APR, and I believe this one to be way worse compared to Average's situation. Because unlike Average, Kygi was falsely accused of something that he didn't really do, and wasn't vindicated by those involved. What was it that he was accused of? Being a pedophile. Yeah, it's getting pretty grim just off that alone. But let's just get into it. How did Kygi get into the situation, and how does this relate to APR? Well, to get to that, I'll first have to explain the full context of what happened to Kygi. In March 2025, Kygi was banned from the Project Moon Community Hub server, and the reason being was that he was a groomer, and he'd been sexually messaging a minor. This was investigated by a group with Dememenic, Macroses and Behelit, and was concluded that Kygi wasn't a predator, instead was a victim of entrapment. There was an entire doc about all of this, but I'll not be going over any of that for the interest of time. However, I will attach it in the description if I can. So, with that backstory in mind, after revealing all of this to Frey, what did he decide to do? You know what? This video hasn't even been all that interactive, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to guess what Frey did after learning about this. Number 1. Acknowledge how messed up the situation is and explain things to the APR members. Number 2. Say that Kygi can't participate this year due to complications, but see what they can do in the future. Number 3. Say that Kygi should not participate in APR this year, then proceed to say that he shouldn't try to make his own community PM space, and then he should just leave it. If we've been following Frey's mindset, I don't think this would be too much of a hard question to answer. This is what I wanted to touch upon in sections 1 and 3, and now I'll be able to finally address what I've been alluding to this entire time. Frey reminds me of HR. Sounds weird, I know, but let me explain myself. As I've said before, Frey usually picks out the path of least resistance. That in itself isn't really a problem. However, Frey also doesn't actually seem to care about the people he's talking to. He puts on this facade of being friendly and nice, but if you actually unpack what Frey is saying, he's saying some pretty dubious stuff. This reminds me of HR speak, and the entire purpose is just to add more bureaucracy and make actually solving issues harder. We're going to go over the specifics of what happened to Kygi so people can understand. Funnily enough, you don't actually have much DMs between Frey and Kygi to show. So most of the DMs are actually between Frey and Dememenic, because of course it is. It begins with Dememenic talking about Kygi and the next steps forward, and news in regards to Project Moon Community Hub and APR. So here we see a conversation between them and Frey about Kygi, and they talk about the best way to move forward about it. Frey and them reach some sort of agreement. Just to pause it there for a second, let's actually look at what Frey just said. He said that he wasn't opposed to the idea of Kygi joining, but he just doesn't want him there for the sake of the event. But that doesn't sound like somebody who believes Kygi is a predator. He's fully aware that Kygi is in fact not a predator,
and he is rejecting Kygi's involvement with APR here, as it would just not be good optics to have him here. Wait, it's me, the intern again. Ray said this entire conversation takes place before he was aware of the full evidence that Kygi was a real pedo. This conversation takes place on the 16th of March.
Being Dem's friend, I was sympathetic, as he truly believed that Kygi was innocent until it became clear that he was not. After that, I wanted to console someone who, at the time, was a grieving friend. Before that info came out, though, while I was skeptical, I believed that I could make a sound judgment reading the document Dem made, and would only share it if it provided a burden of proof that PMCH would have to correct. And I eventually did come to that conclusion, and I shared it. Then, later, when the Project Moon Community Hub team would release their own statement proving that Kygi was indeed guilty, to the extent I said earlier, of what he was accused of, and accounted for Dem's statements, I also shared PMCH's response in the same way I shared Dem's. But frankly, I wish I never got involved in the first place.
So since then, he managed to learn that Kygi was really guilty. When did Frey learn this information? Well, he never actually shows any more DMs to prove when that was, or that he has. And he could just be saying that to save his own skin, but I think we should believe Mr. Frey on this. So, at some point, he learned the true extent of Kygi's actions, and this conversation was before it. So you're probably thinking, okay, he got rejected from APR. What's the big deal? Well, that's not where Frey's involvement with Kygi ends. Not only did he not even attempt to clear the air about him, which I'm going to say here isn't his job, but if you want to reject someone because of their bad reputation and you know it's false, it's in your best interest to at least attempt to clear the air rather than leave things up to fate. But honestly, it's whatever. Who am I to judge Frey what he decides to do? But the actual problem comes later with Kygi when he says he's going to do his own thing, making his own server, and Frey just decides to inform him that it's not really a good idea and they should give up on it. I'm only including it in here because I find this to be a pretty interesting thing to tell somebody who just underwent a controversy within the space, and to just tell him to leave when you know he's innocent. But again, don't think too deeply on that. I just need people to understand that Frey thought Kygi was innocent and tried to advise him to leave the space despite how unsolicited that advice was. Okay, so Frey said that this was after he learned the true extent of Kygi's actions. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't be talking to a pedophile like this. So either Frey is aware Kygi is a pedophile and he wants to talk with him like this and reason with him and be on friendly terms with him for whatever reason, or that he thought that this time that Kygi was actually innocent and was just telling him to leave the space for his own good, which is advice that he still didn't really have any right giving according to his own logic. Either way, it's a pretty scummy situation. So then why is Kygi still in this situation? Why are people calling him a predator despite even Frey acknowledging that he very much isn't? Contrary to what he said in the 3 hour and 30 minutes video. Well, for starters, Kygi is Korean, which means that the males have a mandated military service. So during the time that he was being slandered up and down for being a predator, he wasn't really going to be around to defend himself as his military service was going to begin. So he was leaving it in the hands of other CCs to fix things up, after all, who would quite literally not be able to do anything about it. Enter in Saf, and Saf said she wanted to cover the Kygi stuff and put a rest to it. But the problem is that she got herself caught up trying to defend Anna Valens, who's a fucking degenerate article maker. Like, you cannot make this shit up. By the way, that same Saf was in the 3 hour and 30 minutes video that Frey put out and was also one of the collaborators. There's so many things about Anna Valens, but just know that Anna Valens is a degenerate freak. If you want to know more, I'll link a Harmful Opinions video on Anna Valens, as it covers it the best. I think it's best if we play the clip, number 173, if you will please.
In the future, there are a number of institutions that emerge. If you are a trans girl, or if you are trans feminine, you can go ahead and sign up for a reservation slot to an all-day access to one of many breeding facilities, where you get to breed the shit out of that cis girl pussy. You can absolutely devastate that shit, fucking destroy it, murder it. It's done. Like, they have to cycle the girls out because that pussy is absolutely out of commission. And now we have breeding saunas, we have breeding bookstores, breeding movie theaters. Those are really nice. You have breeding adult schools. You have breeding esports arenas. Very fun. This is something we're building. This is the future. This is what TERFs don't want. They understand that we're trying to build these breeding facilities, and it's really important for you to fund your local trans girl top who is absolutely destroying that good pussy right now. Like, you need to give her the funds because she is the future, you know. But the future that I want is I just want to live in a world where you can walk down the street and you don't even have to worry about whether you're going to be able to breed that good fucking macaroni in a pot puss. That's not a tall ask. And I think that's the future for all of us, is just destroying that pussy wherever you go, whenever you go.
But just know that the reason why Kygi never got vindication was directly related to Saf getting into deep shit running defense final. Now, to bring together everything from section 1, 3 and 4, Ray has proven here to be quite the sneaky person, and he prioritizes his own reputation above others. Indeed, even when looking at his video, he said that Kygi was a predator, and said that Dem was simply defending the guy because he was his friend, but there's a massive inconsistency in what he's saying. He said that between March and August he learned the true extent of Kygi's actions, but showed zero screenshots to prove that. You do not ask a predator to partake in your charity event the following year. That literally makes no sense. And for Average, in the video he tried to make it out that he was simply enforcing the rules of the APR server by not inviting a non-content creator. But that isn't the case, as he literally states here that the main reason for her not being allowed in is because of past drama with other people, and will cause issues with people already there. Even if you want to use the logic that Frey didn't know the full extent of Kygi's situation until at least August, it doesn't explain why the conversation with him was so friendly, especially with a pedo in your eyes. He also goes on to say that Dem was annoyed for no reason, or that he changed his mind about it, but if you look at the conversations that he had with Kygi, and even in his own words,
as a reminder, I had spoken with him initially about handling a project before this incident started, so this wasn't the first time we DM'd each other. But while I responded in a friendly manner to him, as he is ESL...
We speak English, motherfucking neckha. No somos fan de Esptain. O algo obsessed brimstone.
English is his second language, and I found that that tone is the best way to bridge communication barriers, I left a non-committal response and said that I did not believe that it was a good idea for him to associate with the community going forward. Dem would respond positively in my DMs, say that Kygi is wrong for rejecting my message, and then again say he's leaving the community again. Apparently though, this was not true, as Dem has now claimed within Ultranum's server that I cared way too much about keeping APR looking clean and that Kygi was not justified in his removal. While he had
that the conversation was far too friendly for what you were trying to imply. This conversation doesn't read as, "You're a pedophile, please get out the community." That's why Dem initially agreed with you. And how could someone be this bad faith? Like, no shit he was mad after. You literally admitted that you had a different tone for what you actually wanted to say. That's like being disingenuous to the max. Well, in any case, it's time to move on to section 5. Roberta starts section 5. What the hell is Clone 173 doing?
PS1 graphics, pixel art, retro visuals to invoke a feeling of nostalgia, unconventional game design. It's something conventional that's twisted around into an abstract idea of a video game. It doesn't feel like something that exists, but because it doesn't exist, means that it does exist.
I knew love or bitterness of coffee. Snippy scissors cut down the strings. I set myself free, only to figure out everything I chose was by proxy. As we suck upon the 9mm pacifier, swallowing the fact that the other than to expand, we had no purpose.
Oh my god, listen to this! First thing was said longer. I'm seeing everyone in the next world! Ultranum was banned from APR in April 2026. After confirming and finding out the reason behind it, we learned that it was Kamui who filed a report against Ultranum. And once it was evaluated, the ban was understandably done under false pretenses. The evidence for this ban was also old, and was seemingly held onto for whatever reason. Well, whatever the case is, we aren't attacking the fact that Kamui sat on this information for however long. The reason why we're getting into this is because in the recent video,
they tried to say that Ultranum was organizing a harassment campaign against a Project Moon YouTuber Meat and Project Moon YouTuber Kamui. I've come to tell everyone right here, right now, that not only is this just not true, but you know who else agrees with that statement that is not true? APR agrees with me. Because Wallavator later goes on to say how he's made a mistake and rescinds the ban on Ultranum. Not only does he say that they should have done better research, keep in mind that they never made a public acknowledgement of this mistake, despite Ultranum's ban being public, but it's also through this plausible deniability that they use in Frey's video to call out Ultranum's behavior that they already addressed in the past and rectified. Wallavator is literally saying here that he screwed up. Now they're probably going to hit you with the, oh well, I didn't know the full extent of what Ultranum's up to. However, the problem is that they did know the full extent. That's it. There's no new information. The screenshots for the ban reason is basically the same ones used in the video, minus the obvious 365 clones joke. I should also address this, since it was stated in Frey's video. Yes, they acknowledged that I was not a mod in Ultranum server, but they forgot to mention that me and Ultranum are quite literally not close at all. We have no DMs with each other, and during my time in his Discord, we didn't talk often. The narrative that I was told by Ultranum to send my drawings in Kamui's server is completely untrue, as I did that on my own accord. Besides, in Frey's video, he makes it out that I was just trying to go in there and cause unrest in people. Furthermore, he neglects to mention that after me posting White Zero in there, that didn't get me banned. Looking at the date of me doing this, it was the 5th of November 2025, and Kygi Chroma was posted there on the 10th of December. That's an entire month. So you're telling me what the hell? So you're telling me that the harassment campaign on White Zero was so bad that it took a month looking at it to decide that I was to be banned? No, Kamui already saw White Zero, and honestly from his reaction, he didn't seem to care. Kygi Chroma, more understandably, is where he had the problem. So I guess the ball is now in my court. Why did I create this then post it in there? Well, I created White Zero to prove that whitewashing gets a stronger reaction than blackwashing, blah blah blah. I made a video on this. But then there's KKK Chroma. The reason behind this one is because I found it funny. That's it. I just find the idea that Chroma being in the KKK is funny, so I just drew it. It's not really more complex than that. I thought other people find it funny too, so I posted that drawing everywhere. Posted it on Twitter, other Discords. Kamui's server just happened to be one of the servers I posted it in. That's why there was over a month gap between the two, because KKK Chroma didn't exist during the time of me posting White Zero in there. So people are wondering, why did Ultranum then tell you to send it? No, actually, he wasn't telling me to send this Zero drawing. You see, the reason why I was talking about a banned speedrun is because I thought I was going to get banned. Hence my surprise when I actually didn't get banned for it. It's because I was banned from Project Moon Community Hub and many other places for White Zero. I simply thought that I was just going to get banned for simply drawing this, but the fact that I didn't? I thought Kamui was chill with this sort of thing, so I was pleasantly surprised. Even much so I considered drawing Kamui. Well, that never happened, but besides the point. I never had any real problems with Kamui. I never watched his videos, and even if then you want, you could just read the entire conversation if you join Ultra's server for yourself, if you even care enough to do so. There was zero animosity with the stunt I pulled. And when it comes to Meat, Ultra and me already worked things out. So bringing that up was kind of valid on Kamui's part. Though Frey in his video tried to downplay all the bad things Meat did just because Meat was harassed or whatever. No, my videos on Meat were objectively removed from harassment. They were fair videos criticizing the public behavior of Meat, and even as much as people didn't like me, they had to admit that my videos had merit to them. To go through what Meat did quickly, Meat was just being snarky towards Ultranum, and I did some digging into this Meat person. I found a pretty decent video material and decided to make the initial Meat video. Meat then copy striked that video, which is technically a legal process, but let's not get too much into that. False strike. I did better research on Meat and saw that Meat said the people that misgender him can be told to kill themselves. Saw how else he treats his community and deleting comments, so I made a second video. During that time, he's made many vague posts about me, but you know, I don't even need to talk this much. I'm just gonna play my older videos so they can do the talking. Tame in comparison to what it could have been. There were so many different screenshots and other videos I was given
that I didn't use because I couldn't prove the validity, nor did I feel the need to really overstack the video with insults directed towards Meat. Some people were saying my video was full of spite and it was petty drama. I'd like to remind everyone that Meat copy-striked my video. As a result of that, I have become untrusted by YouTube. Despite the fact this was never a problem before this point, I now can't even link things or pin comments anymore. But that's just minor in comparison to the possible legal ramifications of a legal claim Meat just did. Had I contested it, I could have potentially have been doxxed, which wasn't a risk I was going to take over Meat. Anyway, trans misogyny exempt individuals love speaking about what shouldn't offend you after you make it painstakingly clear that you do not want to argue about it. And it's just really Meat just talking about some trans stuff. I think the section before this was me talking about how I don't really care about the whole transgenderism thing, but what's important to note here is what Meat says at the bottom here. I just genuinely need to kill every cis person who goes through mental gymnastics to argue over preferences. Okay, oh my goodness, this is why. Anyway, so Meat's just saying, I think if we kill people like that, the world will improve. You know, just more quotes of Meat saying we should kill these kind of people. So, ping everyone in the Discord, new rule being implemented. While it's typically frowned upon, if you or someone you know is getting misgendered, you have my permission to tell the person doing it to kill themselves. So, you know, that's just a quote from the server.
The point is, Prey downplayed literally everything Meat done and exaggerated Ultranum's involvement in this. I mean, it's a timeline of events that I'm just gonna flash on the screen so people can pause and read it if you actually care. All you need to know is that it's just a whole bunch of shit that nobody cares about, and Prey is trying to make it look like Ultranum's Hitler or is responsible when that just isn't the case. And you see, regards to Kamui's section, that's all we had planned. That was all I was going to say about him. Clearly, that has changed. Why do you ask? Because following my initial video calling Kamui out, he decided to make a YouTuber post about it. Clone 126. Can you please pull this post up and debunk this shit? Can do. Okay, so I'm gonna be going over Kamui's post, somewhat long. And here's the timeline of events, excluding all the time travel done by Kamui. You'll understand why this is phrased this way for a reason. Now, just have a look at some of this stuff. Hey, everyone wants to make a comment on this movie. If you see reaction, people want to know real evidence. Okay, so here's the first issue, right? There's no real evidence. Mr. Kamui, the evidence was there. When they said, oh, help us out with this shit, and you said no, that was the evidence. This isn't slander, this is what happened. There is no slander, this is objectively what happened. Okay? I was deemed by seriously by a blue person, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. In this DM is told based somebody just extra in a group. Understand this. I'm an incredibly private person. What does this even mean, Kamui? What is this? Can anyone tell me what does this mean in this context? You're a YouTuber. I'm not trying to say that he has an obligation to do anything. I'm just saying, what is this literally? Literally, what does that mean? I'm a private person, okay? Isn't most people private? Like, to go out my way means, involve myself in business. I have no right being. Yeah, that's most people think like this. However, due to the content I find it must be unprofessional, light-hearted excuse for a serious Google Doc I've ever seen, especially something dangerous to make private information and much more. Now, here's the part that actually angers me. What Kamui is saying here is actually true. That doc was made, and it was shit. The doc was made, and it had a bunch of shit in there that should have been removed. One of the victims' faces were in there. There's so many jokes in there. Frey even said as much in his video. But guess who looked over that doc and fixed it? That's right, it was me. Kamui saw that and said, you know what? I'm not even going to try and tell them to fix that. I'm just going to say nothing. So by the time I saw it a month later, that shit was still in there. So I had to forcibly remove it because, of course, it was stupid. And that's also the reason as well I didn't link the doc in my original video, because people were asking me about that. It's because the doc was shit and I didn't want people to see that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take the most useful information and then put it there. Because, it was a shit doc. After me, that response, the person you see below saying thank you for your information. I don't want you to join your group. Take it on Twitter. Now, the sentence being taken out of context is thank you, internet. What? by the word community, okay? Not really, no. We're just saying that if you want to keep the Project Wing community safe, it's just best that... I mean, I would have preferred it if you just didn't really say any of that, just kind of said no thank you, you know? A lot of people refused to partake in this. He's trying to paint it out as if people are trying to trap him into this, saying, oh, you gotta do this, or like, ultimatum, bro. If you say no, we're gonna like get you in trouble. Like, no. Many other people have said no, and nothing happened to them, because that is not the issue. Saying no was never the issue. My original video goes over this. I'm not gonna repeat myself. But the issue is how you carried it out. You said you want to keep this community safe. At the same time, you gave a thumbs up reaction to something, and then you just said, oh, that's how you end your sentences. Like, no one does this. You're the only guy I know that ends his sentences with thumbs up affirmation on what someone else is saying. That just sounds stupid. But whatever, man. Some might say, what's the thumbs up emoji? That's not acceptance request. Yeah, like, no one speaks like this, Kamui. I don't know, no one does this. Like, maybe there is one other person that might do it, but I literally know no one that does this. So that's like an easy way to confuse them. Keep in mind, right, that, no, I'll get to that in a bit. However, a few hours later, it came to discover who was in that group and realized it had been led into a honey trap. Now, Kamui, again, you need to understand that people were getting angry at certain other individuals were saying, oh, how are you gonna be manipulated by kids, blah blah blah, how are you gonna do this? Dude, these are kids, bro. The kids put you into a honey trap, and now in a lose-lose situation, but people who dislike you, nothing more to farm drama and catch me saying something. Who is this? No. Someone has to point this out. Who is Kamui talking about here? He isn't talking about me. Unless he's a time traveler, then he'll be talking about me. But who is he talking about here? I'll get into that in a second, because this is people take his community posts out of context. This couldn't be me. In my panic, grown-ass man, by the way, I moved to delete the singular comment I made to the person in contact. Now, to most people, this will be seen as a retarded move. You're deleting your comment to make yourself look even more guilty, because now, if they were really bad faith, they could have just taken that comment and then taken it out of context to make it look like you said something else, or try to hide evidence of you saying something crazy, but we didn't. We intentionally represented what you said. So why do you think deleting your comment is just stupid? It's just dumb. Now, this only made the situation look worse. Yeah. And accusations of me defending this behavior. See, because remove a helmet comment? This is disgusting. You found the video itself, you know why I mean hastily cut contact. See, now, this is how I know, right? This is how I know he was talking about me with this, but at the same time, he couldn't be talking about me with this. Because this is where the timeline of events come into place. Frey and Kamui was asked to cover PU. This is here. I was asked to cover PU here. This is a month. Okay? So this was when this was happening. I didn't know about this until this point. So he couldn't have been talking about me. But in this community post, he clearly is talking about me. So retroactively, he's talking about me somehow because he knew that I was going to make these videos on him. I guess. Like, oh yeah, if you've seen the videos, you know why I cut contact. No, I wasn't in that group at the time. I was not. When this happened, when they were contacted, if you ask the kids themselves, if you want to be honest, they'll tell you I wasn't in that group. I wasn't there. So this is literally impossible. Kamui saying unless he was from the future and Vetcher actually says, oh yeah, he was in that group or he has foresight. No, that isn't what happened, Kamui. This isn't true. And again, no one was saying you're defending this behavior actually. That's what the people in my comment section was saying I said because they're fucking retarded. If you watch the video for yourself, you know that I never actually said that. Literally just never said it. The words never left my mouth. I never said you defended the groomer. Never said defend the PL. Literally watch it again if you want. It's a short video. Never said it. However, this is now a simple sentence screenshots being run through the dirt by these problematic people. Proving my point exactly. What was your point? Again, I wasn't in the server at the time, so you were talking about nobody with this. This sentence, you're talking about nobody because I wasn't there. So who are you talking about with that? Okay? I proved myself lucky. Chat to respond if it didn't respond. I want to give these people attention to farm drama. Observation is done for them. It's not for them, it's for you, the viewers. Okay, but here's where he's wrong, because people again have refused. So this wasn't a trap. Look at the way he's presenting it. This is a grown-ass nigga saying that, oh, these guys, bro, they tried to trap me into saying something. Like, no one did that to you. Like, this is what makes me annoyed about this guy. No one did any of this to you. They asked you to do something, you refused, and they called you out for not doing it. That's as simple as it gets. That's what happened. Please understand that I truly have nothing to hide from you guys. okay? I didn't say anything about the situation strictly because the nature of the event was not only unprofessional and dangerous, also contained people being actively problematic in space, banned. Now this is how I know. This is the second confirmation, because if you didn't believe they were talking about me with the videos, this is how I know it's talking about me. Because again, you see how he's talking about how I was banned from this? But if we were to consult the graph here, right? This is when they told me to cover it. Again, this is when the video came out. This is when the Kamui one came out, okay? This is when I was asked to cover it. This is when he was asked to cover it. Do you know when I was banned from Kamui server? All the way over here. This was like October, bro. Like October, like November. The gap between here and here is like 6 months. Literally, like, dude, this is ridiculous. This is like, you think that this is like, yeah. I just wanted to hold onto this grudge for 6 months and like to get you banned. Dude, I completely forgot about your existence after I was banned, okay? And again, this is literally impossible. What he's saying is impossible because he was asked a month before I was asked. So I wasn't in that server, so he's not talking about me, he's lying. He's a lying or he's a time traveler, and he knew that I was going to be in there. Okay? I'm just a man who plays Project Rune games. Okay? Shay is just a person that plays Undertale games. Like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? This sentence means nothing. He's trying to sympathy bait to his audience, and it worked. Because his audience are fucking retarded as well. I'm going to answer any questions you guys might have. After these replies, I'll not be making any more posts, mentions, or talking about this topic or its people ever again. I saw you comment under Frey's video, by the way. So, that's a lie. I'd like for them to do the same, please. No. Love you all. Here's screenshots of a private DM from my side. I have not changed anything except for real more information. Hid all the details. I didn't even remove my thumbs up. Okay. This was never the issue. And I also will answer many questions just saying it again. I'll not be posting this on Twitter. There's no real point. Okay? Okay, dude, you repeated yourself 3 times. But you get the point. This timeline of events. How long has this clip been running on for? Oh, 9 minutes. Okay, I'll write up quickly. This timeline of events, you know, again, you can look at it on screen. It's here for people to look at. But it's literally impossible, okay, for what he's saying to be true. Because if I'm the reason why he didn't want to join this group, I wasn't in the group by the time he was being asked to join it. So that couldn't have been the reason. But he said it twice. That is the reason why he didn't want to join it. Or that is the reason why he didn't want to get involved. And he also says, oh, the doc was poorly made, but did nothing to fix it. Neither did Frey. I was the one that fixed it. You can ask the doc maker. I was the one that got angry and said, why the hell is the kid's face available here? And I had to go in and edit it. They put all those memes in there. I had to remove it because it was stupid. I literally told them it was dumb, it was immature. I got angry at them because it was stupid. And that's why I didn't like the doc. Like, they're trying to act as if, oh, the doc was bad, so like we couldn't partake in that. It wasn't serious. Okay, and you did nothing to fix it. I did. In the APR video, and this thing is pretty funny. The PU stuff and the APR video is completely unconnected. It's a coincidence. They just asked me to cover it, and I said, you know what? It's a pedo in the community. I did say, because I personally said it. This is why I had to do it. I personally said that I want to, you know, reduce the pedos in the community. So I'm going to have to cover it. So I'm like, fine, I'll do it. Even though I'm working on something else, I'll do it. But then, you know, I figured out that these guys were being really weird about it. And honestly, Frey's mod was a lot more iffy than Kamui was being. So that's why the focus is more on Frey's mod than Kamui. Kamui had like, what, 3 sentences in that? Like, no, 3 minutes, I mean, like 2 minutes. Like, I didn't really care too much about Kamui other than like the fact that he made his long ass community post after the fact. But yeah, the whole thing is just fucking stupid. But I guess that kind of wraps up Kamui's section. That's why I consider him like, you know, a bum. All that nonsense aside though, my beef towards him doesn't really come necessarily from what he's done, but just how he comes across. He's just a spineless little slime that tries to take the easy way out all the time. Bro really just called himself a man that plays Project Moon games. Like, let me not repeat myself with this section and just be done with it. We got this from Kamui. Here, take it. What do you want me to do with this? I think it's kinda obvious what I want you to do with it. I'm gonna need you to head over to the recording room. There's something waiting for you there. Okay. Well, that's it from me. I'm off to hunt the next time traveler. Why is he dead? Is this 73's corpse? What the hell? So, you finally made it into this room. You... that watch, you Yes. It's me. Well, I should say it's you. The future. Specifically only 2 minutes from the future. You're gonna go back in time and like kill 73 so we can like make the script better. Because like he was, you know, retarded. And why do you kill him instead of just improving it? I don't know. Just use the time machine. Alright.
Because there wasn't like education on it, I found like fetish forums. Being like,
Oh.
this like femboy, sissy type shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of made me really uncomfortable to like talk about these things, because like I was 12. I didn't see what I was saying. I didn't understand what I was seeing. And I basically I was really stressed out that like if I talk with someone about that, they're going to be like, yo, some sort of freak.
Now, many people will look at this section and go, bro, you are just like hecking transphobico ualgo, and grown people cannot be groomed, broski. And to all that, firstly, I say, that's dumb, as child grooming and regular grooming are two separate crimes for a reason. It is indeed possible to be groomed by an adult as an adult. But before I get into that, Frey in his video claimed that we said that ArcAngela is grooming children. We just never said that. I'm not going to spend time refuting his arguments in that regard because it's just something that we never discussed, nor we're going to ever say. And as on a side note, Frey actually worked with ArcAngela on this video, so of course Frey is going to be telling a more favourable side of the story, lest of course it means he was friends with a groomer. That'll make him look pretty bad. But secondly, Frey also just says that women continuing on the conversation just apparently means that somebody is completely comfortable despite typing out the concerns with the conversation direction. Besides, women being comfortable or not is besides the point. The problem had nothing to do with women in particular, or to do with them, who you again decided to put on blast for literally no reason, talking about his personal issues, and the way ArcAngela talked to him. So let me actually go over what we're here to talk about. First, let's get out the way that Frey, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, completely misrepresented what egg-breaking culture actually is. No, it's not about helping people realize they are trans. No, it's not about simply assisting people with coming out. That's not what egg culture actually is. Like Frey, buddy, did you really think we're gonna let you get away with saying absolute nonsense like that? What is it, Clone 174? You mean you actually did? Oh shit. Well, to give it to you straight, yes, there are some people that actually do the whole egg culture like that, just looking for transgender people who haven't realized themselves and to help them out, or whatever that means. But the type ArcAngela is the latter ones, the ones that push on their headcanons with other people, the ones that tell people how to do things, the ones that try and convince people there's something hidden within them. Yes, it's true he tried doing this to Dem, and explicitly after arguably one of the worst moments in Dem's life. So yes, you can make the argument that ArcAngela waited for Dem's lowest moment to move in with this stuff, but that actually also wasn't on the list of things we were trying to discuss in the video. That's just a bunch of the stuff me and Dem were talking about when Frey just said we're going to talk about it, just like he was insistent we were going to talk about his economical situation when we just wasn't going to do that. That aside, without even talking about the femboy to trans pipeline, like what happened with Fenster, I'm just going to be taking quotes out of ArcAngela's mouth and putting it on the screen. ArcAngela goes on to say and declare that there are puppy girls on Woman's server. What does that mean, you ask? Well, since I cannot be trusted according to everyone, let's just ask Google to directly tell us what this means. Clone 174, can you put this on the screen for us? Thanks, Clone 174. Now, a puppy girl is a term used to describe a person, historically and predominantly transgender women or transfeminine individuals, who adopts a submissive dog-like persona as a form of fetishistic roleplay, stress relief, and psychological escapism. When studied through academic journals, clinical psychology papers, and subcultural histories, this phenomenon is categorized under pet play, a branch of the broader BDSM and kink community. Unlike the previous conversation about egg culture, which details with internal identity and discovery, puppy girl culture is explicitly adult, often highly sexualized behavioral script. It breaks down the 3 distinct psychological and cultural elements. Oi, Doctos! Wait, so ArcAngela is saying that she sees fetishistic roleplay material in these guys? Clone 174. I swear, if you're messing me around. ArcAngela also goes on to say that she has designed one? Can someone even verify what this means? What is ArcAngela even talking about? Woman then goes on to say that ArcAngela may be projecting, which is honestly, at this point, is a more generous assumption. Keep in mind, Frey simply pointed out that Woman and Angela both had different looks on this. Do you guys go around looking to turn people into puppy girls? That's just a weird thing to say regardless of anything. No wonder why Woman felt uncomfortable, because it just keeps on going. Woman gives Arc many outs, but it's almost as if Arc is really sure about this, going on to say that she has cracked many eggs, including one in Woman's server. It is there that Woman says it makes her uncomfortable after explaining what ArcAngela said. Frey said here that it's just simply a difference in beliefs between Arc and Woman. So that's exactly, of course, why Arc keeps insisting that Woman needs this support group or whatever it is. I have no idea why Arc is so pushy about this, but the conversation continues with ArcAngela telling Woman that she's clearly poorly informed on the topic. Why would Arc even say that? Even the way Arc is saying it here comes off as aggressive. Needlessly so as well, when Arc is the one saying there is uncracked eggs in Woman's server. Whatever that means. She goes on to say that it's not coercion at all. Okay, let's just take her word for it that she isn't forcing anyone into this. Still, doesn't really explain why she just goes around calling other people puppy girls, which is fetishistic in nature. Anyways, she goes on to talk about some other person she cracked, and honestly, I don't give a shit about the game she's talking about. I'm focused on how Arc is really insistent that Woman needs more trans support circles. Because, again, for whatever reason. Which, I guess. The dialogue continues. ArcAngela has not eased off the pressure at all, saying that Woman really needs these trans friends, and even states that she is giving her 4 months. What is this time limit? What does that even mean? Time limit until what? Arc also has this pretentious tone towards Woman, even saying that she has to explain egg cracking to somebody who transitioned a decade ago. Even though the conversation isn't openly hostile, the point still stands that it's passive aggressive. Ray tried to simply just paint out a disagreement between the two, and even claimed that when Woman said she was uncomfortable with the conversation, she was just being dishonest. Really, this conversation can make you easily see why Woman would feel uncomfortable. Now, some people may still be clinging on to Frey's defense, saying that, oh well, you know, they're 2 grown people here, and the whole egg culture thing isn't fetishistic in nature. Well, you will be right in saying that they are grown, but again, we aren't even saying Woman's the one being groomed here, first of all. And second of all, grooming can in fact happen between adults. Thirdly, when Kamui was getting bamboozled by a bunch of kids and was scared out of his mind to the point where he deleted his own comment, everyone nodded along saying that a bunch of kids managed to trap him or honey trap him, whatever, so that's double standards right there if you ask me. But to address this degenerate behavior, I do believe ArcAngela was trying to talk about the fetishistic side of things, as not only the Discord server do they have these weird labels, but which in itself would be Arc's own choice to do that, so I won't really talk much about that. However, in the APR server itself, they was using this language. Remember how Frey was getting onto Ultranum for just being in the same chat as me? Well, Frey is literally in these chats, and what's he doing? Number 174. Can we enhance this image? Frey is telling them to Google what Puppy Girl is? Is Frey trying to say that he knows what it all is? Was he downplaying it this whole time because he was in the know this entire time? You know what? 174? Just stop. Just stop it right now. How many times does ArcAngela talk about puppy girls? Whoa, that's a ton. Well, I can keep dragging on about it, but that's besides the point. Puppy girls are an inherently degenerate term with sexual implications. Numerous times ArcAngela has told people in the server, don't worry about it, or they aren't old enough to know, likely implying that Arc is intentionally being vague about what they're calling people. Why would Frey downplay this? I mean, he was in the APR server too and was aware of this. Hell, he even joined in with the puppy girl goofiness. Arc has even gone as far to say that there's tons of eggs they have cracked in Tone Rep server. So Arc is just going around cracking eggs and making puppy girls. But still, after this, if people still want to think that this is a nothing burger and think that this isn't damning evidence, then honestly, that's just you at this point. I suggest you do your own research into what this culture actually is, and what it entails before you reach any conclusion or judgment. There is plausible deniability being granted to ARC, mainly because not many people are actually aware of what the public art even is, but I'm just gonna say it's done for now. I guess I should add on additionally, because I'm probably gonna forget if I don't add it on now. In ArcAngela's server, Arc had the most ingenious idea to send everyone our Discord IDs and be like, oh look, here's a hacking problematical algo people, bro, here they are, here's their Discord IDs. And like, just said it was so in the purpose that, you know, we can be blocked and stuff, like that was the reason. And people like to say, oh well, Arc was clearly well intentioned and stuff like that. I guess you can say that. I mean, first of all, I gotta get this out of the way. ArcAngela is a mod on Frey's Discord channel. No, sorry, YouTube channel. Wow, I'm losing it right now. ArcAngela is a mod on Frey's YouTube channel. What's the significance of this? Well, if somebody calls out ArcAngela's behavior on YouTube, if Arc doesn't like it, Arc can maybe just, you know, delete it or ban them from the channel. Like, I don't know, report it. Like, I don't see, this doesn't really make sense. Why is the accused person here have mod power? Like, that's like the most easiest cover. This is sweeping 100. Like, dude, this is common sense. Okay? Second of all, yeah, Arc really did just put our Discord information in there and said, oh, don't harass him, by the way. Like, no, nigga, that doesn't work. You can't just put the Discord ID and be like, oh, don't harass them. You put even them's alt on there for whatever reason. Like, dude, that isn't... what is this even supposed to do for anyone? Anyways, yeah. So, you're not the only person that could do that, ArcAngela. We could just be like, oh, here's ArcAngela's face and location. Oh, don't do anything. Oh, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Oh, here's the Twitter. Link to it in the bio. Oh, don't do anything. Wink, wink.
OPSEC? What's that, man? We don't care about OPSEC. We post our full face and location online for the world to see.
Nudge, nudge. We can do that too. We can do, like, what is this? What do you call this? This is what they've been doing this entire video. Like, Frey even said don't harass them for the regular reasons. What are these guys even talking about?
He hosts the server where this is being organized, is using Dem's document to create this video in the first place, and has acted on behalf of Ultranum to harass other creators. As I previously showed, his videos display a lack of good faith, and I still consider it grifter behavior as previously defined. If what I've already shown has not convinced you that his actions are not ones of a credible person, I don't think I can. That said, I still don't recommend harassing him for the regular reasons.
So as you can see from that clip, he's just calling me a grifter, and he's just saying some other stuff about me that just isn't true. You know, saying I'm like, not being honest, whatever. That was a quote from Hassan Piker, the lying is OP thing, and he keeps calling me a grifter. No, it's not a lie, a grift, or an evil plot. I just find the videos I make pretty funny, so I make them. Like, there's no other reason beyond that, dude. Stop trying to like paint it out as if I'm like big evil guy who's like grifting off my... I'm not even making any money off this. I literally not even monetized, dude. I'm just doing it for the love of the game. You should really look up what grifting is. And finally, what the fuck is up with that warning you put on your video, bro? Content warning, transphobia? True. Harassment? Not true. Mentions of doxing? Mentions of doxing? That's not even doxing. Mentions of doxing? You're taking the piss. Threats. Threats of what? Threats of what? Did he show any of these threats? Mentions of explicit images of underage characters? So, not only is it fiction, I want to get into that debate right now, because it matters because of the way he's painting it out. Not only is it not even real, but it's mentions of it? So I don't even... Oh my... Bro, just shut it down. Porn is banned in my server. Literally is. Ask anyone from it. Is banned. The server is 18 plus as well. Yeah, I still banned it. Wanna know why? Because I don't like it. I don't like it when niggas do it. I don't draw it for a reason. Okay? I don't do it like... Just shut it down. I just can't with this nigga, bro. I can't with this nigga, bro. Okay, additionally, I kind of forgot because I don't know how the hell this slipped my mind. But when it came to dealing with like some shit that happened to Ultranum in the past, ArcAngela's first idea was to like get the kids that's causing trouble and like try and dox them or like threaten to dox them or like leak their IP because like, you know, it's to scare them, like a scare tactic. Take that what you will. I'm not gonna like explain this for too long. I'm literally tired, dude. I don't give a shit. Nigga try to dog someone, got surprised. The person that's bad did bad thing. Wow. What does that mean? What are you guys talking about? So, yeah, really, I mean, that concludes ArcAngela's section. Oh shit, looks like I lost. Huh? Stop recording! Stop recording! I could drag this on like Frey and like talk on for like many hours and like get people together with like the power of friendship to like talk at the end and lecture, but like I'm just not gonna do that. I have no idea what the hell they even did that at the end of their video. That just makes no sense. I'm just gonna end the video. So I guess some people might be curious what my next plans are, so I'm gonna say that. Firstly, I want out of this endless drama spiral. It's gay, it's annoying, it's retarded. I want no part in it anymore. I didn't want to get into stuff like this, but shit just happens. So yeah, I'm done with this, okay? I'm done. I'm gonna be doing my own thing. Probably play more Deltarune. But I guess at this point of recording this, I've already finished the game. So, I'll be making my review on that. That's my next video, a Deltarune review. So, see you next time, bro. Alright, before I end this video, how could I forget? Happy birthday, Frey. You really think we will let this day go by? Okay, no, seriously, this video's done now.